This is what I found when I broke down all 613 laws in the Old Testament. So, a common misconception about the Torah observant movement is that we are saying that Christians need to keep the 613 laws contained in the Law of Moses. Well, first of all, it depends what you mean by need to. No, we do not need to keep them in order to be saved. The issue is much simpler than opponents make it out to be. It's God's law, after all. So the question isn't, do we need to keep the law, but rather, why shouldn't we want to keep the instructions that God himself lovingly gave to his people? You know, the same law that David calls a delight, the one that Paul calls holy, righteous, good, and spiritual, the law that Jesus kept, and that points entirely to him and his messiahship. Regardless, it is said by many well-meaning Christians that no one can keep all 613 commands. Well, there's a bit of a misconception there, because that's not actually what's being suggested. Let's take a look. So first of all, the number 613 is a count traditionally held by the Jewish people. While there may be a few more or less depending on how you break them up, it's an approximation. The list that I'm using was found doing a simple Google search, so I did not come up with it. However, I personally went through the list and placed each law into a number of different categories. These are laws regarding servants, agriculture, laws that only apply in the land of Israel or under a Jewish monarchy, laws that require a functioning temple and priesthood, and laws that are applicable today. I was pretty liberal with the last one and included any law that could be extrapolated to something that we can observe today. For example, many aspects of the feast require a temple and priesthood, as does the law of tithing. But actually, many Christians observe these laws in one form or another, so they can still be observed partially or in principle. Therefore, I included them in the last category. This list that I borrowed was already divided into positive, thou shalt, and negative, thou shalt not commands, so I kept those distinctions for the last three categories. So since this is in Excel, we can do some fun things with charts. I use everybody's favorite kind of chart, the pie chart. And as you can see, over half of the laws in the Torah are regarding servants, agriculture, are specific to the land and government of Israel, or require a priesthood and temple. That leaves just over 300 laws that could potentially be applied to the average person today, both positive and negative. Keep in mind that many of these laws only apply depending on certain circumstances. For example, some are only for males, some are only for females, others deal with specific situations that you might run into, etc. I then broke down these potentially applicable laws based on the following categories: sexual morality, laws that typically do not apply in our culture or only in matters of judgment, such as laws about leprosy, since biblical leprosy no longer exists, and a judge not taking bribes, etc. Things that do not apply to the average person. And then laws about the feast days, kosher food laws, and a few miscellaneous laws. The laws regarding sexual morality and all the remaining laws are the ones that 99% of Bible-believing Christians accept as valid and follow. So what's left here are the disputed laws, about an eighth of the whole law. This is what Christians mean when they say they aren't under the law or that it's too hard to keep. Keep in mind that of the feasts, the 37 laws are pertaining to just 7 feasts and the weekly Sabbath. You know, heavy, burdensome laws like resting, feasting, rejoicing. And in America, the kosher laws basically amount to avoiding pork and shellfish. So when you hear people say, no one can keep all of those laws, just remember that they aren't talking about all 613 laws of Moses. It's actually only a handful of God's commands. They are his instructions that are full of meaning and a delight to keep. David says of these that they are to be desired more than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. They are a light to our path. They are an expression of God's character, and he gave them to set us apart and make us holy. So I encourage you to think about these things and leave a comment below if you have any questions or comments. Shalom.